evening. You're watching Left, Right and Centre. I'm Nidhi Razdan. On the show this evening, Justice Ganguly, the head of the West Bengal Human Rights Commission and former Supreme Court judge, is still defiant and refusing to step down, even after details of a complaint made by a law intern about the sexual harassment against her by him have been made public. Tonight, we ask whether it is time for Justice Ganguly to be sacked if he's not resigning. Well, that question is coming on a day when, in fact, the Additional Solicitor General of India, Indira Jaising, went public with the law intern's complaint, which she had presented before the Supreme Court panel that was investigating her charges. That same panel had said that prima facie, they believed that there was evidence against Justice Ganguly for unwarranted behavior. The question now is, since Justice Ganguly is more concerned about how this affidavit became public and is defiant on the question of his resignation, should he be sacked? I spoke earlier to the Additional Solicitor General Indira Jaising for more. Ma'am, you've taken the extraordinary step today of making public the affidavit of the law intern who complained against Justice Ganguly. What prompted you to do that?
I think it was Justice Ganguly's attitude of denial and also the fact that very prominent members of society, including the former Chief Justice, Justice Altamash Kabir, and former Lok Sabha Speaker Somnath, who came out in his support. And I felt that all this was happening because they are not aware of what actually happened before the committee. She had acted very responsibly in not naming him, not putting all the information in the public domain. But I found that he was taking advantage of her silence, which is why it became necessary to put this information in the public domain.
Ma'am, what exactly is involved here? Is it just about the conduct of an individual ex-judge of the Supreme Court, or does this entire episode damage the image of the judiciary? Do you think people will lose faith in the judiciary and the higher judiciary in particular if there is no action?
I think what you said, if there is no action, that's critical. If the judiciary does a self-cleansing exercise, it will actually restore the faith of the people in the judiciary, and people will think, well, it's true, be you ever so high, the law is above you. But if the judiciary washes its hands off the issue, then yes, people will lose faith in the judiciary. And as to your question, what is involved over here, I think what is involved over here is something very fundamental. What is involved over here is the whole concept of women as if they were playthings, you know, as if they had no individuality of their own, as if they had no agency of their own, as if they were not equal partners in the workspace. That is what is at stake over here. And I think this is the message that has to go out through cases like this, through cases like the Tarun Tejpal case, that women are here. We are dealing with a different generation of women. We are dealing with a generation of women who demand equality as a right. And I hope to be standing by their side on a demand of that kind. Don't forget, Nidhi, the Supreme Court of India has been my workplace for the last 25 years. And I have a right to expect that the workplace in which I work is not a hostile working environment.
You know, Fali Nariman, the eminent jurist, had actually said earlier this year in his book that judges often behave like a trade union and rally around each other when it comes to corruption allegations. And apart from the former Lok Sabha Speaker Somnath Chatterjee, who has been very vocal, do you think attempts are being made here to protect Justice Ganguly as one of them?
I wouldn't be surprised, but I do wish to place on record my appreciation for the fact that the Chief Justice of India did set up this committee, the fact that 3 judges, including 2 incumbent Chief Justices and a woman judge, actually gave a report in which they carefully studied the information which came on record from her side and very importantly from his own side. His statement, here it is, the report, it says, in pursuance to the above, Justice Ganguly appeared before the committee on 27 November at 4:30 p.m. His statement has been video recorded. So he has been given an opportunity to be heard by this committee before they've given a prima facie finding. So To the extent that the committee of 3 judges has risen to the occasion and given a report, I think we need to acknowledge that the Supreme Court has done something which is worthy of being called a Supreme Court. But now the next step would be, are they willing to put in place a system where other women can come forward and make complaints again, whatever be the nature of the complaint they have against judges. It really, the heart of the issue is accountability of the judiciary.
Ma'am, Justice Ganguly is refusing, though, to step down from the West Bengal Human Rights Commission. Now, you wrote to the Prime Minister asking him to initiate steps. Has the PM responded to you? And what happens next? Is it time for the President to step in? What exactly is the process?
First and foremost, I wrote to the Prime Minister because the President acts on the advice of the Cabinet. The Prime Minister cannot act in his individual capacity. What then the legal process has to be that the Cabinet has to take a decision to advise the President to make a reference to the Supreme Court of India. The President then makes a reference to the Supreme Court of India, after which there is a full-fledged hearing. And a report is submitted to the Supreme Court as to whether he's guilty or not guilty. He certainly will have an opportunity to honorably have himself acquitted in a process of this kind. And it's only if he is found guilty on this report, then the Supreme Court sends a reference back to the President, and then appropriate action of removal is taken by the central government.
Has the Prime Minister, though, responded to your letter?
You know, Nidhi, my letter is dated 10th of December. And as I told you, the Prime Minister cannot respond as an individual. The Prime Minister then has to take action to place this before the Cabinet, and the Cabinet has to decide. So, no, I haven't received a response as yet.
Finally, Ms. Jai Singh, how widespread is this problem of sexual harassment, particularly in the higher judiciary?
Women have been saying for far too long that they do not get equal recognition with men in the judiciary. Women lawyers feel that, it's a woman's word is worth half that of a man. So the problem is one of discrimination, and sexual harassment is part of that discriminatory attitude. Yes, it's pretty common. It's common in the chambers of senior lawyers. It's common in law firms. I've had women coming up to me and telling me that, we've been hired by law firms, and when we ask them what is a job we need to do, we are just told to go to look pretty and go to a particular client and do a presentation. So they feel they're valued not for the work they do, not for their intellectual abilities, but for just being a woman. Now, I think these are very fundamental attitudes, and what I can see, Nidhi, is that the younger generation of women lawyers is not willing to tolerate this anymore, and they're demanding that they be treated equally in the legal profession as in any other profession.
Ms. Indra Jai Singh, the Additional Solicitor General, speaking to me earlier there today. Well, joining us now on Left, Right and Centre is the former Speaker of the Lok Sabha, Mr. Somnath Chatterjee. Mr. Chatterjee made headlines earlier, just a few days ago, with his support to Justice Ganguly. Mr. Chatterjee, if you heard Ms. Jai Singh's interview there, she says that one of the reasons she decided to make the intern's complaint public with the young woman's consent was because she felt that people like you, she named you, and the former Chief Justice Altamas Kabir had come out in support of Justice Ganguly without knowing what the details of the complaint were. Have you changed your mind, sir, on your support for Justice Ganguly after hearing the details?
First of all, I feel honored that because of my views, a very eminent lawyer and a law officer has responded and taken certain steps, as she has said. So far, this is a completely wrong statement that I am supporting the judge. It's completely wrong to suggest that I am defending somebody. I have been only saying, because now that does not become very interesting news, I am saying, let the law of the land prevail. This is my only crime. I have said if somebody is guilty of an despicable offense, let the proceedings be initiated. Let the law take its own course. Still now, with all the eminence behind the statements that have been just made, it is still allegation. Affidavit contains allegations which has not been admitted. You can assume that that affidavit contains truth. It may be whole truth, I do not know. I am only saying in India, which is run by, I take it, a civilized system of jurisprudence, nobody should be held guilty of a crime which he might not have committed until it is proved. I think it is as axiomatic as anything else. From centuries, this is the position. And India, that is the law of the land, as far as I have understood. I have never said if he is guilty, he should be spared. On the other hand, I have categorically stated,
but
if
Mr.
Ashok
Chatterjee,
Ganguly, listen,
Mr. Chatterjee,
please.
it was
No,
based,
let me finish.
Yes, sir, it was based on this very complaint by the young intern that the Supreme Court panel that went into this said that on the face of it, that prima facie there was evidence of unwelcome behavior by Justice Ganguly of a sexual nature towards the law intern. So prima facie they found her complaint to be valid. Based on just that, do you not think that there is a moral responsibility Justice Ganguly has to resign from the West Bengal Human Rights Commission?
With all humility, I submit that is not the judicial decision of the Supreme Court. That is not a judicial decision of the Supreme Court. Suddenly, we find the Supreme Court, Chief Justice appoints a committee, it goes prima facie into a matter, and then comes to a prima facie conclusion. That's not a finding, that's not a conclusion. And immediately the name, which the girl did not name, suddenly the Supreme Court, some officer named the judge, and immediately the Supreme Court takes a decision that in future we shall not go into such cases. Now, what was the law that permitted that? What are the rules that permitted that? I don't know. Maybe the Supreme Court, I have the highest regard for the learned judges, but suddenly a new type of system was followed in this case. There are so many cases of allegations against the judiciary. I have not seen the Supreme Court looking into the matter in the...
But sir, the point is the Supreme Court did. So the point is the Supreme Court did look into this allegation and prima facie did find evidence. It did find evidence.
I reiterate that
is it a legal question, sir, or a moral one?
So then Supreme Court is deciding a moral matter? Let them say that they are deciding a moral matter.
There is evidence. Is there
Therefore,
not a moral responsibility on him to resign?
I am asking a very simple question of the very eminent law officer. Why is the process of law is initiated? And now they demand for resignation. There is no inquiry pending against him. Up till now, there is no inquiry pending against him. Now he cannot interfere with any investigation that may be carried out. Let investigation according to law be made. And to give an impression that I am supporting that judge or defending that judge is a misnomer. Please do not just spoil somebody else's reputation.
Mr. Chatterjee, you don't think he should resign?
Let him decide for himself. At the moment I say if there is not even any investigation pending against him, why should he resign now?
You don't think it's a damning indictment?
Let there be an investigation
when 3 Supreme Court judges have found that prima facie he did do this act? You don't think when you read the details, sir, and the Supreme Court panel says they believe that prima facie he did it, that's not enough? That's not enough for him to step aside from a human rights body, no less.
No, I have a right to disagree with you. I have a right to disagree with you on the ground of morality and legality both. Here, what was the basis on which Supreme Court took the decision? Let me know. Is it a judicial decision? Therefore, 3 learned judges taking a decision without any authority and then forthwith decide that similar cases will not be gone into in future. Then why this singling out?
Okay, so
just because of that, now up till now no proper investigation is made in the matter. A prima facie conclusion is reached. Why no proceedings are initiated against him?
Why do you disagree on the question of morality though, sir? Why do you, because moral responsibility is something we expect from our politicians. Today Arun Jaitley says that as a judge, as a former Supreme Court judge, there are higher standards of responsibility, higher standards of scrutiny that one expects from the highest officers in the land. It's different.
Please listen, Nidhi ji, you are a very competent journalist. Please allow me to finish. Don't interrupt me in between with others' views. I am respectfully saying, I am not saying that the allegations are false. I have not said that the complaint in the affidavit is false. I am only saying let that be proved. This is the only thing I am saying. I have not said that the girl is wrong. Who says that the girl is right?
The Supreme Court panel, prima facie.
Well, that is the thing. That very this is not the Supreme Court. I'm again reiterating. Court has not decided.
All right, Mr.
Let
Chatterjee.
anybody controvert me there. Why let anybody controvert me there? It's not a decision of the Supreme Court.
Well, Mr. Chatterjee.
It's a panel which was constituted ad hoc.
Okay. I just want
takes
to bring
a decision.
in. I just want to bring in.
No, please.
Yes.
Please, let me put it on record. And that very Supreme Court learned judges, who are highly respected by me also, they take a decision not to look into these matters, similar matters in future.
All right.
What is it? I don't understand.
Okay, Mr.
I am
Chatterjee,
only saying let the law.
Let
Here
the law
I
take
find
its
you
course.
saw. Let the law take its course. I am not defending anybody. I am not supporting anybody. If at all I am supporting the principles of judicial, principles of law in this country, principles of innocence until one is proved guilty.
All right, Mr.
That's what I am
Chatterjee,
only
thank
saying.
you so much for joining us tonight, sir.